So, more news about Andrew Hastie, Sussan Ley, the Liberals. More. Someone's walked away from this and done that and said this and what. Come on, Rita, what's been going on?
Well, we've got some principles being shown in federal politics.
Ooh.
It's quaint. But Andrew Hastie has stepped down from his role. He doesn't feel like the portfolio is what it should be because the immigration debate is one where the Liberals should be seizing upon it because it goes to so much of their platform. Everything from cost of living to the issues of the so-called culture wars is centred around that. And for them not to seize this opportunity and to have a clear differentiation, a clear policy that they can stand behind. I can understand why Andrew Hastie has stepped down. Obviously, the conjecture is that he's preparing for a challenge. He has said he is not, but there would be an increasing number of coalition MPs and voters who would be hoping for just that, James, because right now the Libs are directionless, they're hapless, they're recording the worst primary poll numbers in their in the history of Newspoll since they've been measuring it. So they've never been so low. It's not because Anthony Albanese and his government are enormously popular. No. It's because they are absolutely without policy differentiation, whether it's net zero, whether it's immigration policy, whether it's issues to do with values. This is a real opportunity for them. But if they are going to take it, they need to do it quickly. They can't wait till 6 months before the election to have a change of leader.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it won't be this week because the entire Senate party room won't be there because it's only estimates this week. But there will be something happening soon, I think, before the end of the year. And the reason why we're seeing this problem here, it's a couple of things here. Number one, nature abhors a vacuum, right? So you've got the Ley, leader of the opposition office. Now, they have gone and said, we're going to have not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 5 committees to figure out what our policies are. So, yeah, so in that, you know, amidst all that, there's no actual policy. We don't know what the coalition stands for. We don't know what the opposition stands for. So, you know, this is why we have had people coming out and saying, well, on energy, on net zero, we've had a couple of more backbenchers defect on net zero overnight. On migration, which I believe immigration is the everything issue. It is about culture. It's about infrastructure. It's about an economy that is being artificially propped up by huge migrant numbers. It's about what's happening at your kids' or grandkids' universities or your university, you know, when you've got major sandstone universities with half of their student body just simply there to get a migration outcome. You know,
and
so
you've got housing, but then Sussan Ley says, well, immigration has nothing to do with
let's
cost
have a listen.
of living.
We've got that grab. Let's
have a listen to
Sussan Ley.
You see for yourself how the lack of infrastructure is contributing to the struggles that people are facing every day. This has nothing to do with any migrant or migrant community, but this is a reprehensible failure of government to put the infrastructure and services in place that Australians deserve.
You see, that's a complete non-argument. That's just nothing. You've got this massive issue of immigration, and it's obfuscation, and it's ducking around. You can't win government by hiding from issues, by running away, being afraid to address issues. The other big issue, I'm afraid, to me, of equal importance is the net zero issue. Both immigration and net zero, the two combined. One is your style of life, but net zero goes directly to the cost of life. These two issues combined should be what the entire coalition focuses on, relentlessly prosecuting the case every day. We'll be chatting to Sarah Henderson shortly in the show. But we've got things like the ISIS brides. We need to be discussing that. There's so many things the Labor Party could be attacked on. Their refusal to tackle the pro-Palestinian marches. So many issues that this coalition needs to be fighting for everyday Australians on, James.
Rowan, that was, you know, worse than an obfuscation. That was an absolute cop-out, right?
Yes.
That is the leader of the opposition saying we are going to lay down on this issue of mass migration into this country, you know, that the Albanese government is on track to have 2 million more people coming into this country by the end of its second term. That is a huge huge number any way you slice it. And for Sussan Ley, who represents a party that is supposedly the party of economic rationalism, and I will give her credit, she gave a very good speech last week to CETA talking about how we've got to get off welfare and all of that and stop the government spending, and yet then to go and say something so economically illiterate as to say the excess demand from increasing your population on infrastructure, schools, housing, roads, everything else isn't doing anything to affect your quality of life is an absolute nonsense. And it shows that they're terrified. It shows that they're absolutely terrified, just as I'm afraid the Peter Dutton campaign was terrified of being monstered on this issue by the ABC and the left media and all those people within the party who say, oh, no, the Liberals need to be modern Liberals to reflect modern Australia. And yet, as you very perspicaciously said, Rowan, a moment ago, the fact that Liberal primary vote has gone nowhere, in fact, it has gone backwards as they pursue this course, is proof that they're on the wrong track. And they need to stop listening to left-wing pollsters on Twitter, you know who I'm talking about, who keep telling them, oh, there's no ground for them if they talk about immigration. There's no ground if they talk about net zero. That is nonsense.
That's the same left-wing pollster, Labor pollster, Labor operative who told us that the Voice was undefeated.
Correct.
That it was absolutely... And then what? The coalition actually finally, after 10 months, developed a backbone and stood against the referendum, and we all know the result. So that was 2 years ago. So this notion that modern Australia is inherently left-wing and you can't talk about immigration, you can't talk about net zero, it is an absolute lie, a verifiable lie. And that argument Sussan Ley just gave, it wasn't just economically illiterate. It was economically illiterate, but it was also precisely the argument the left wing makes when you talk about mass migration and just how suitable it is, how beneficial it is for the existing population. The argument back is always, well, that's just a failure of planning because you haven't built enough roads and hospitals and schools, as if there's endless money to do that, as if that's not going to be a cost to the community. And we are one of the highest tax countries in the world. I mean, how much more tax can the population be to build this endless infrastructure? So it is just a no-brainer for any centre-right alternative to make a stand on this issue. It's not about cutting immigration entirely. It's about having a sensible, sustainable
It's not as if there aren't
policy.
examples from Britain and the United States of how electorally popular it is to attack.
We're different.
I mean, come on, you'd have to be brain dead. But let's have a listen to Andrew Hastie.
We're different.
Let's have a listen to Andrew Hastie.
Well, I just think net overseas migration is out of control under Labor, and regular mainstream Australians are feeling the pressure of Labor's uncontrolled immigration. 1.2 million people over the last 3 years, and Labor's only overseen the building of about 500,000 dwellings.
Now, James, if I may return the perspicacious compliment, which I did enjoy, that was Andrew Hastie picking up on your perspicacious comments last week, saying although we have technically or theoretically controlled immigration, it's out of control.
Well, it is.
And that is the point. So well done, James.
Thank you.